Thank you, Dr. Wolfson. We are deeply honored to have Father Martin with us today to address the class of 2017. It is extremely important to us at Loyola, and to me personally, to invite commencement speakers who truly understand the ideals at the heart of our Jesuit heritage and who can offer insight into how our new graduates can embrace them as they take their Loyola degrees and begin on this next part of their lives' journey. I truly can think of no one who can express that more powerfully than Father Martin, one of the great Jesuit thinkers and communicators of our time. Through his service to others, his desire to spread Jesus' message of love, and his joy in helping people connect with one another, he continuously encourages those who read and hear his words to reflect on how they might commit more fully to living for others and for God. Father Martin, you have done us a great honor by speaking at our commencement ceremony and by accepting an honorary degree from our university. We are delighted to have you with us today to offer our graduates insight and how they too can make a mark on our world. Please join me in welcoming Father Martin to offer the 2017 Loyola University, Maryland Commencement Address. Father Martin.
First of all, thanks to Father Linane and the Board of Trustees for this great honor. By tradition, I am now a member of the class of 2017. So to my fellow graduates and fellow Greyhounds, congratulations. I look forward to seeing you at our 50th reunion, when you will be a spry 71 and I will be 106. It's a real honor to be recognized by such a distinguished university, and one that has embraced its Jesuit identity so fully. A few years ago, I visited Loyola for a benefit for the Messina program here, and I was incredibly impressed that at every level, administration, staff, faculty, students, and of course campus ministry, people were inspired by the Jesuit vision and Ignatian spirituality. That made me really proud of the school, and of course I'm proud to be one of your fellow graduates. But you know, I'm not supposed to get too proud, which is something that Jesuits are accused of daily. You know the old story of the Jesuit priest, the Franciscan friar, and the Trappist monk who all eat at Stokoe's and they get food poisoning and die, and they go to heaven. St. Peter comes out and greets them and escorts them in to see God in the great throne room that God has, which is true, God has a throne room. No, I'm a Jesuit, I know these things. Plus, I've got a degree from Loyola, Maryland. So from his golden throne, God looks down at the Franciscan and says, "My Franciscan son, what do you believe?" And the Franciscan looks up at God and says, "I believe that in helping the poor, I could best serve you." And God says, "Welcome to heaven." Then he looks at the Trappist monk and he says, "My Trappist son, what do you believe?" And the Trappist looks up and says, "I believe that through a life of prayer, I could best serve you." And God says, "Welcome to heaven." And then God looks at the Jesuit priest from his great golden throne and he says, "My Jesuit son, what do you believe?" And the Jesuit looks up and says, "I believe you're in my seat." And that's a true story, actually. So sometimes we Jesuits are proud. As for me, I'm not too proud to say that to prepare for this talk, I asked around to see what seniors were thinking about. And here are some answers I've gotten, just some as early as this morning. I'll miss hanging out on the humanities porch. Will I ever find ice cream better than what they sell at the Charmery? I wish Craig's were still open. Senior week at Dewey Beach is awesome. Should I dab instead of shaking Father Linnane's hand? Will insomnia cookies deliver to wherever I live next? Who should I be Snapchatting now? And finally, I just heard who our commencement speaker is. Who the hell is James Martin? Now, none of these topics suggested themselves as a theme for the commencement talk. And since I was never at Craig's, I figure I'll give you something else instead. 10 things that I wish I had known at your age. 10 things that would have made my life much easier. Some are pieces of advice that I've learned from wisdom figures. Others are the results of dumb mistakes. A few are insights from spiritual masters that I've adapted. And I'm serious, if you put these into action, you'll be a lot happier. Number 1, the first is 3 things that go together. You ready? You're not God, this ain't heaven, and don't be a jerk. So you're not God. Stop trying to do everything, to fix everything in your life and everyone else's, and to make everything perfect. You can't. Why? Because you're not God. So stop acting as if you were God. As the saying goes, there's good news and there's better news. You know this? The good news is that there is a Messiah. The better news is it's not you. Second part, this ain't heaven. Try not to expect life to be perfect. Once you realize that, you'll be able to enjoy life more. You'll be more grateful. And you'll complain less, which means you won't annoy your friends as much as you already do. Finally, and I've cleaned this one up a little bit, don't be a jerk. You can fill in the word if you like. Look, you're sick, you lost your cell phone, your laptop broke, your boyfriend or girlfriend just dumped you, you had a fight with your parents, your car broke down, your first job after Loyola isn't working exactly like you had hoped. Okay, you can be sad, disappointed, or angry, and you can share your struggles with your friends, but you don't have to pass on your anger. Just because you're upset doesn't mean you have to act like a jerk. 2, your deepest desires are God's desires for you. That's how God calls you. Speaking to you through your desires, what moves you, what attracts you, what you're interested in. What, as the Jesuit Pedro Urupe once said, gets you up in the morning. That's God's main way of calling you. So try not to listen to people who tell you that it's all about money or success or impressing people. I've been there, and it's a total dead end. The better path is one that encourages you to listen to where God speaks to you. 3, you really can be your best self. Look, God has already made you a wonderful creation, but God is not done with you. Now, how can you tell that? Because I'll bet that right now, sitting there, you have an idea of the person that you would like to become someday. Maybe freer or kinder or more spontaneous. That's another call. That's a call from God to become the person you're meant to be. So listen to that. And even if you can't be that person now, you can move towards that by acting as if you were that person. To make good decisions, ask yourself, what would my best self do? What would the person that I want to become do? Soon you'll find, by acting that way, you have become that person. 4, you can't force people to approve of you, agree with you, be impressed with you, love you, or even like you. So stop trying. I spent most of my 20s, that gets applause, okay. I spent most of my 20s trying to get everybody to like me. And the one person who didn't like me, I'd really try to get him or her to like me. But no matter what you do, some people will approve of you, others won't. No matter how nice you are, some people will take to you, others just won't. I mean, everyone didn't like Jesus after all. And he was a pretty nice guy from what I hear. So just relax and accept the fact that some people will like you and others will not. It will save you a ton of heartache. 5, stop comparing yourselves to other people. It's a dead end. In fact, it leads to despair. Why? Well, think about it. When you compare, you always imagine someone else's life falsely. You see another person and you think, oh man, they have it made. What a perfect life they have. But that's false. You know, I know a lot of people who are famous or rich or celebrities. Their lives are definitely not perfect. The problem is that you know that your life is kind of a mixed bag of good and bad, and you compare your own mixed bag life with what you falsely perceive as another person's perfect life. And so guess what happens? Your life always loses out. It's kind of a rigged game. Then you get depressed and despairing. So the old Jesuit saying, compare and despair. So stop comparing. 6, be yourself. Or stop trying to be someone else. Boy, you think, if only I were like him or her, someone else. That's who I wish I were. But you're meant to be yourself. You are a beautiful creation of God. And being holy means being you, not another person. Man or woman, rich or poor, young or old, black, brown, or white, short or tall, gay, straight, lesbian, or transgender, you are beautiful. Remember, God doesn't make crap. As Jesus said. Or should have. 7, even when you realize the right thing to do, it's still hard. You know, at your age, I used to think, well, once I realize the right thing to do, all I have to do is do it. Not at all. It's hard to do the right thing. You're out at a party and everyone starts dissing a friend of yours, right? It's hard not to join in. Or you're out with friends and everyone starts talking about how lazy poor people or immigrants are. It's hard not to join in. Or you're at work and everyone's doing something that's a little unethical. It's hard not to join in. It's easy to see what the right thing is to do, but it's hard to do. Here's the trick. Do it anyway. Otherwise, you won't be able to live with yourself. And sooner or later, it will catch up to you. 8, listen to the right voices. Look, you're going to hear a lot of voices in your life. And let me tell you some voices not to listen to, whether from friends or coworkers or even inside of you. Don't listen ever to the voices that say the following things. You're helpless. It's hopeless. Things can never change. Don't give those voices power. Here are the voices to listen to. Have hope. Things can always change. You can get through this. And things will work out in the end if they haven't. And if they haven't worked out, it's not the end. Listen to those voices. Listen to the voices that give you hope in your life. 9, happiness and freedom are linked. In fact, they're almost the same. As I know a lot of successful people. But if they're not free, they're not happy. Because often they're too attached to stuff. Ever seen the movie Fight Club? Admittedly, I don't recommend going around punching people in the face. But there's a great line in that movie. The stuff you own ends up owning you. That's true not only about stuff, but about money and status and power. It becomes a god and it owns you. Be free of anything that keeps you from being a good person, and you'll be happy. Finally, number 10. Here are 7 things to say every day. I love you. Thank you. Thank you, God. Forgive me. Congratulations. Why not? And yes. My fellow Greyhounds, I cannot give you any money since I'm a Jesuit and take a vow of poverty. I can't give you any more advice since Father Linane asked me to be brief and Jesuits take a vow of obedience. And I certainly can't give you a kiss since Jesuit takes a vow of chastity as well. But I can give you those 10 pieces of advice, and I guarantee that even if you remember only one of them, it will help you to be happier. Because you deserve to be happy. Why? Not only because you are beloved children of God, but because today, on top of that, you are something really, really special. Loyola graduates. Thank you very much, and as Jesus Christ himself said, go Greyhounds.